March this year. On the national minimum wage, a key outcome of the conference was in principle agreement that we should campaign for a legislated national minimum wage. The recommended parameters for the figure were between 4,800 rands and 6,000 rands. It is becoming urgent to reach a consensus with our allies, government and business on the figure for a legislated minimum living wage and to persuade the ANC to include this demand in the 2014 election manifesto. On organizing vulnerable workers, each affiliate has been asked to identify the groups of vulnerable workers in their sectors and to set target for recruitment and set aside budgets. A vulnerable workers task team has been convened. Although much good work has been done to recruit and service the most exploited and vulnerable workers, most remain unorganized and much more needs to be done, especially in sectors not covered by the existing union, like the domestic workers and informal traders, or farm workers, of whom example far too many for the FAO alone to cover. These should all be treated as national projects for all unions. On the recruitment campaign, national figure for membership are still awaited, but in the period we're talking about, DINOSA has won 1,900 new members recruited between January and May 2013. SABC has a campaign for an annual increase of 30,000 members. By March this year, they have already reached 35% of the target. NUMSA has recruited about 1,900 members between May and July 2013. We are continuing to ensure that we include all race groups in the recruitment campaign. On the support for affiliates, the CC recommitted itself to campaign in support of affiliates facing challenges, including those like the NUM and SATAU, faced with rival breakaway unions. Good progress has been achieved in KUSA, the South African Football Players Union, and the Communication Workers Union. On the meeting with the Minister of Labour, we reported that on the 2nd of May 2013, the Cosatu National Office Bearers held a meeting with the Minister of Labour, which we discussed and agreed on the need for the following. 1, solving the problem of proliferation of small and weak unions. A renewed partnership between Labour and the Minister on picking up the gains. 3, the ratification of the ILO Convention 189 on the domestic workers. Amendment of the law to achieve a 40-hour working week. The changing of the UIF rules, including the extension of employment, the eligibility of cases for resignation, and creative ways of using the surplus. On developing a Cosatu strategy on good governance, the February CEC resolved that it was critical for the Federation to openly discuss issues relating to good governance, accountability and investment policy by all the investment companies, including Kopano Gimatla. We need this discussion so that we can set standard for the Federation, which might assist in preventing continuous recurrences of embarrassment allegation, which invariably weaken our internal coherency and organization. It was agreed that good governance is essential about effective leadership. Leaders need to define strategy, provide direction, and establish the ethics and values that will influence and guide practices and behavior regard to the sustainability performance. It was agreed to consider inviting an expert from institutions such as the Financial Service Board, to facilitate a proposed workshop for general secretaries and all our deployees who sit as trustees in various boards. On the e-tolls, the meeting agreed to establish a socio-economic commission as a subcommittee of the CEC. One of its first tasks will be to take forward the socio-economic campaigns already agreed to, including the campaign against the e-tolls and the commodification of our public highways, which has attracted thousands of supporters and continuing to do so. As date is to be set for a national day of action on the e-tolls for better public transport and all other campaigns. On the Employment Equity Report, the CEC discussed the Employment Equity Commission report, which covers the period between the 31st or up to the 31st March 2013. It highlights that in the private sector, white males dominate top management echelons by 73% margin, even though they only constitute 11% of the economic active population. The snail's pace of the transformation is particularly bad in the university. It was agreed to deepen the campaign for transformation and not only raise it once a year when the ECC report is issued. Racism must be exposed and shamed, but at the same time must not tolerate appointment of incompetent staff who cannot perform job regardless of race. The meeting urged all members of the workplace equity forums or to form workplace equity forums where they do not exist and to be co-signatories to the report. We shall support the effort by the Department of Labor to amend the law to impose stringent penalties for non-compliance. On the appeal of NESA determination on electricity tariff increases, we'll recall that NESA allowed ESCOM an average of 8% increase in electricity prices for a 5-year period between ending in 2017-18. We have since engaged NESA to have a better understanding on the impact of the 8% will have on the municipality tariffs and the proportion of the 8% that will go towards supporting procurement of power from independent power producers. NESA contended that the proportion of revenue allowed to ESCOM to procure power from the IPP was 1% and not the 3% ESCOM had applied for. The CEC, however, agreed it was wrong in principle for any public money to be going to private producers, which will contribute to unbundling of ESCOM. It was therefore agreed to challenge the 1% payment in NEDLAC, in courts, and if necessary, in the streets. NESA had further given guidelines to municipalities to increase electricity tariffs by 7%. Those municipalities which wanted to increase the tariff by more than 7% will have the application subject to public hearing. In the end, several municipalities received well over this, including Bavians at 16%, Matlosane at about 15%, and Malahleni at about 14%. We then discussed the second commission on the mining sector. Immediately after the setting up of the Farlam Commission of Inquiry into the Marikana massacre, Cosatu called for a second commission to examine the underlying problems in and around the mining industry. It was to be of a scale similar to the 1979 Vihan Commission into the labor legislation and the 1995 Lyon Commission into the health and safety on the mines. Cosatu and the NUM were to proceed to develop the terms of reference with corresponding government process to ensure that the to ensure that the commission is set up. Some of the specific issues raised at the CEC were the employer's failure to comply with the mining charter, the apartheid grading structure, check settlement around the mines, exploitation by the money lenders, and the failure to do with the mine dams and the surplus water. The ongoing problems in the mine and the surrounding areas make it more essential than ever to get the commission running. The Presidential Summit and the Chamber of Mines have endorsed the proposal, and it is planned to involve the International Labour Organization in a partnership, and we are aiming to launch this inquiry in January 2014. On the engineering Wawalula moment, the Cosatu 11th National Congress resolution for a radical transformation of our economy, which we have termed our Lula moment, has since been complemented by the ANC 53rd Conference resolution for the second phase of the democratic transition. These plans for development strategy to transform the economy from one over-dependent on the export of raw materials into one based on manufacturing industry was further discussed at the Alliance Summit from the 30th August to the 1st September 2013, and it was agreed to set up an Alliance task team to formulate an alliance policy for the economy. The political commission is to meet soon to take forward the outcome of the Alliance Summit, especially those areas in which progress was made, like the NDP and the national minimum wage, among others. On the important bills in Parliament, the CEC discussed the report that the Labour Relations Amendment Act passed in the National Assembly on 20th August 2013 did not include the full ban on labour brokering. It allows for labour brokering to be used for an initial 3 months period, or to substitute as a temporary labour. This is despite our earlier discussion in the Parliamentary Committee, or this is despite an earlier decision in the Parliamentary Committee to reduce labour brokering to zero, in effect banning it. The CC agreed to keep up the campaign for a total ban on this human trafficking. The Act also still contains subsection 69(12)(c), which gives excessive power of the Labour Court to suspend a protected strike or picket should there be a picketing dispute. Whereas the current version of the LRA permits only interdicting of a specific unlawful action committed in the course of the industrial action, as opposed to the interdicting of the entire strike or picket. This clause opens the way for undue suppression of the fundamental rights to strike, which will in turn undermine other associated rights, including those related to collective bargaining. Section 61(9)(a) of the current LRA provides that a trade union may authorize a picket by its members and supporters. The reference to supporters allows for solidarity action by other workers as well as civil society organizations, and is an essential feature of the legislative protest action. However, a new amendment to the LRA now seeks to delete the word and supporters in brackets, thereby prohibiting solidarity action. Cosatu has been engaged in discussion with the Department of Labour and reached an agreement on amendment to the bill, including that there will be a deletion of the new clauses that undermines the right to strike and picket on Section 64, 65, 67, and 69. Most of these amendments which Cosatu requested have been incorporated to the bill, but with the important exception of those mentioned above. The Federation has therefore called for the bill to be amended where it is referred to the when it is referred to the NCPO. The President has sent back the protection of the State Information Bill to Parliament for them to redraft two clauses, clause 42 and 45, to make them comply with the Constitution. This precludes any discussion on the rest of the bill and will therefore not help to deal with Cosatu, or that clauses do not help to deal with Cosatu outstanding concerns with the other clauses, including an excessively wide definition of national security and insufficient protection for whistleblowers. On the facilitated process to resolve the differences, the report was given to the CEC by Comrade Petros Mashishi, who together with Charles Newpen have been conducted a facilitated process to resolve certain differences of opinion which have arisen within the Federation. He regretted that they had not time to complete their work and requested was granted for more time to finish this assignment. A similar report was also given by the representative of Sizwe Nzaluba Koboto, a firm of accountants who are investigating allegations pertaining to the sale and purchase of the old and the new Cosatu houses, who also required more time to complete their audit. On the former Cosatu leaders process, a request was received from several founding members or founder members and former leaders of Cosatu to try to help the Federation to resolve its current problems. Two of their members, Comrade Siti Mufamat and Alec Ewin, were welcome to the CEC and addressed the meeting. The CEC agreed to invite them to facilitate and chair a meeting of affiliates leaders to thresh out issues in a comradely atmosphere. Members of the ANC task team, which reportedly had been set up to assist Cosatu, will also be invited. On the call for a special Congress, it was reported to the CEC that 9 affiliated unions have submitted members to the Cosatu General Secretary, which was then forwarded to the President, requesting a special National Congress under Clause 3.3.2 of the Constitution, which states that the President must call a special National Congress if not less than 1/3 of the affiliates in good standing submit a written request to the General Secretary for the attention of the President calling for the meeting. The President must then deal with the practicalities such as the cost and the timing of the Congress and the states of the affiliates. A report on progress will then be given to the November CEC. Media report that the CEC itself called the Special Congress are false, as the above clause make it clear that it is not for the CEC, it is not a CEC function. Updates for the special CEC, updates since the special CEC on the 14th of August 2013, I'm sorry. The meeting confirmed the minutes of the special CEC on 14 August and agreed unanimously that the decision it took were Cosatu policy and binding to all affiliates. The CEC agreed to investigate further charges which will be communicated properly to those concerned. The meeting condemned in the strongest terms possible the use of pejorative and degrading language towards women's comrades, such as the derogatory terms used by the General Secretaries about the Cosatu employee. Such comments portray a sex object.
Women as sex object.
Portrays women as sex objects, or imply that they achieve their success in life only through providing sexual favors to men. The CC made a strong appeal to all members not to, 1, leak internal Cosatu stories to the media, not to use insulting language against other unions or individuals, not to degrade women comrades by the use of derogatory language, not to take dispute to courts rather than through internal processes, and not to deviate from the Cosatu Code of Conduct. On the election 2014, the CC committed its full support for East Ali, the African National Congress, in the 2014 national and provincial election and in the current by-election. It has imposed a political levy or election levy on all affiliates to provide the resources for the campaign, and these are to be paid by the end of October. On the international work, Cosatu will be sending a strong delegation to the conference of the Southern Initiative on Globalization and Trade Union Rights in Australia in December 2013. The meeting emerged strong, militant, and united. The unity of the Federation is sacrosanct above all else. United we stand, divided we fall. That's the end of the statement.
Thank you very much, Becky. I will now open the meeting for discussion. I hope that your speakers are working. If they're not, my comrade Busi there has a movable mic. But what you do is press both the button on the speaker and the little silver one in the table, so that I'm not sure if those are working either. So, as usual, go for bunches of 3. Sorry, bunches of 3. I've noted 1, 2, and 3 for Lima. Yeah.
I didn't expect to die so soon. The reality is, I didn't look out for my family first. No one can say, buying life insurance was a priority for me. It can't be said, my family will be financially protected. But the truth is, I haven't died yet. My family will be financially protected. It can be said, buying life insurance was a priority for me. No one can say, I didn't look out for my family first. The reality is, I chose clientele life.
There is more than one way to say I love you. Premium life cover from Clientele is your legacy of love. It's available from 200 Rand per month and pays up to 10 million Rand. No medical examinations, no hidden fees, and you receive cash back. Simply SMS LOVE to 47516 and we'll call you back. SMS now.
Welcome back to AM News. We now rejoin the press conference coming from Cosatu House in Johannesburg.
To know on the record what were the charges that Mr. Barbie was facing, or is facing.
Camilla Brown, SABC Africa. I wanted to ask if you are possibly investigating charges against Mr. Owen Jim if he's one of the leaders. The additional charges that appear to be imminent to be added to Mr. Barbie's initial charge sheet, if you could outline what those are. And then on the special conference, can you just explain what exactly the Constitution says regarding the holding of that special conference? My understanding is, for example, that 2/3 of the affiliates of Cosatu have to be present for that such a conference to be held. So if, for example, the majority of unions don't pitch for such a conference, does such a conference then not correlate, and then is it not viable? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Who would like to reply?
Thank you very much, and thanks to the Deputy General Secretary for presenting the Central Executive Committee statement, which you can see the Central Executive Committee would have spent the larger part of its sitting discussing organizational matters and socio-economic matters that are facing workers of this country in unity and with the spirit we are familiar with in the Central Executive Committee. You would have noticed in the past two Central Executive Committee meetings of February and May where there would have been difficulties, even the last one of May sitting only for one day and then getting aborted. So it is very, very critical to highlight that point, that this normal CEC was set for 3 days. It's set for 3 days in industrious work of the leaders of the federation that were gathered here. Let me take some questions that have come up here. Ranjani talks about the conditions of suspension, or rather of the special leave that the CEC has imposed on the 14th of February of August to the General Secretary and the comrade employee involved. That letter should be clearly written to say that this General Secretary is relieved from performing his duties as the General Secretary of the Federation. That is very, very clear. He is not supposed to perform his duties as the General Secretary of Cosatu. We should be careful here in this press conference, because the CEC has then said there should be an investigation for further charges arising in the period after the decision to place him on leave was taken. Whether he would have then breached, the CEC said go and investigate, and indeed it would be the understanding of the CEC that as he is on the special leave, the General Secretary of Cosatu is not expected to address workers, not expected to go into meetings and address workers as it has happened worse in the NUMSA situation and in some situations similar in the Eastern Cape. The CEC has been categorically clear that that is not what is expected of the General Secretary. I'm saying you should be careful there, because we are saying we should then get those who are investigating to investigate whether indeed that has happened. And then if it would have happened, they then would be formulating processes of charges. So that response that say there's been no violation of the him being placed on special leave and not supposed to act and perform duties of the General Secretary. It includes that, so it will not be correct. The question of the affordability of Congress, that point lies. Okay, first of all, the CEC has no duty to convene a special Congress. We must clarify that matter. It is not the duty of the CEC to convene a special Congress. The Constitution entails that where there is a third of Cosatu affiliates in good standing making a request for a special Congress, they shall communicate such request to the General Secretary, who should then communicate or hand that all to the President, and the President has got within a period of 14 days apply his mind about that request. The CEC, fortunately, because it was sitting, gave some guide to what would be expected of the President to look for and consider the request made by a third of Cosatu's affiliates. It would involve affordability, it would involve the timing, it would involve the state of Cosatu's affiliates, the state of their readiness for that particular Congress, the agenda items that are being called for that particular Congress. Then go back to the CEC. In this instance, we have a CEC in November to give a report after we would have collated this info from the various Cosatu affiliates. And then that CEC looks into that, sign off the process leading to a special Congress. That is why we are not able to tell you when a special Congress is going to take place or whether ultimately it will take place. We must go through all these processes. The issue that again this conference must be careful of. We can't communicate what are the charges of our employees through the media. We shall be risking litigations. We are not even telling you who has been charged, who is going to be charged. We can't do that here in this press conference. All what we can say to you, in its own decision, the Central Executive Committee has indeed mandated a process of investigation of additional or further charges. That's it. Perhaps it is safe to also say, because other people will be saying, but what were the original charges and whereabout is that process? It would be safe to tell the public that that process is still going on, and as when it has concluded its work, those who are involved in it shall be informed. Let me leave the rest for the NOPs.
Thank you, President. I think the questions were similar to each other, and I would think that the President have touched mostly on all of them, because one question from Karima is whether Jim is investigated, and I think the President just responded to say the CEC said we should investigate and take action against those, but if there are any leaders or affiliates that would then be investigated and charged, they would be, the Constitution of the Federation is very clear on how you process those issues, that you don't come to a press conference and announce on them, but you write a letter to those that are affected by that decision. So we cannot hear, and we have not gone back. Remember, the CEC was only yesterday. We are meeting you today. NOBs will need to go back and say, how do we process the decisions of the CEC on those matters? But of course, indeed, it is not for the media and for us to tell the media, and because the first thing that we should do is to communicate to those that might have been affected by that decision. But also, Karima, you are correct in quoting the Constitution of the Federation, but we have not arrived at that in terms of the Special National Congress. It's clear, the Constitution, it says 1/3 of affiliates may request, but it says in order for the quorum in the Congress, 2/3 of affiliates must be there. So it further says that in the absence of that 2/3, the Congress will stand adjourned because it cannot continue. And in a month's time, it will have to be reconvened. And those that were there in the Congress, and if it is only them that will then attend, the second call of a Congress will then form a quorum. So you are quite correct in quoting a Constitution of the Federation, but we cannot preempt because a decision to hold a Congress, we have not arrived into that decision. So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it, because questions were the same as they were flowing from journalists. Thank you.
I just want to make one question so that you do not misunderstood the President. The Constitution does not give a time when the President should convene the meeting, neither to confirm his decision. It says as soon as he decides to convene a meeting from the date of the call, it can't be convened within 14 days. It says it can only be convened after 40. So the earliest time can be after 14 days. So you can't convene it in 10 days' time. But it doesn't say how long after that 14 days has passed can you convene a conference. So the CEC, without discussing these issues, because the CEC acknowledged that they appreciated that we informed them, because they would not have known whether there are requests to deal with those issues. Then they say, okay, we are happy to have heard that there's this kind of a request, allow the President to do these things, but in the President's consideration of this request, please bear in mind the following. That's what they said. Then they said, look, in order to inform us, whatever you have considered, tell us in the November CEC so that we know. This is simply to make, when you go to a Congress, you need to know what is the agenda so that all unions should be preparing. But also, the political commission, which normally facilitate the debate and discussion to any special Congress, have to do its work and be able to do these things. In other debate, when people were, others said, can you call it on the 15th, people were said, it has to be quite clear what are you calling the special Congress for. If you want to call it to confirm that you have differences, then you may not need any preparation. You may just call to say, let's confirm we have differences. But it's not the understanding and the spirit in which Cosatu convene its meeting. I just want to clarify the 14 days, that people should not phone the President after 14 days and say, what is your decision? The 14 days has passed now. You said you must respond within 14 days. Nowhere in the Constitution says he must decide within 14 days. It says, in an event, you call it. Don't call it before 14 days. 14 days is the shortest period you can do. You can't call it within 14 days.
Yeah, Beggy is helping me, because I was going to make that appeal to all of you, that whilst I'm applying my mind, allow me to do so, and don't call me about that matter. I'll call you.
Great. Any more? I see 1. I'll go for people who haven't spoken already. 2 and 3.
You all talk.
Morning, I'll come to you next.
Everybody will speak.
Can I go ahead? Number 1, yes, down there. Would you like to speak? Oh, yes.
My name is Thabo Mashal from Kaya FM. On the backdrop of court action against some of your affiliate unions, did the CEC concede that Cosatu, the federation, is divided, and what action was taken towards fixing the drift? Secondly, as the ANC put together a team to assist Cosatu with its internal issues, did the CEC not see that as interference? Thanks very much.
Right. Number 2.
On the special congress, the affiliates that write the letters to the General Secretary stipulate why the special congress should be convened. For example, NUMSA in his letter says that they want the special congress to be convened because how to review the 2012 resolutions, and it is supported by FAO in saying that. So I just want to know if the reasons that are mentioned in those letters are not enough for the president to consider the special congress, and also if the president does not believe that given the big divisions within the federation, the special congress is the right place to resolve those divisions. And then lastly, on the issue of when he addressed those workers, he made it clear that he was not addressing in his capacity as the General Secretary. In your view, can he address any gathering while he's on suspension, even though he's not addressing in his capacity as General Secretary?
Can I go ahead?
Yes, SABC television news. Okay, he said, or rather the president says, it will be about affordability issues, whether, or one of the issues that will be considered is whether it will be affordable to hold a special national congress. Now, in that case, as an example, should you find out that the affiliates are not able to transport or book accommodation for their members, is there a case of it would not be held in that case? Is there any reason for that matter that would cause Cosatu not to hold the national special congress, even though it has been requested by a third or more than a third of the affiliates?
Okay. Thank you all very much. Who's going to reply?
I thought we were taking 3 at a time. It's fine. Oh, there are 3. Let me. Oh yes, KFM. Thanks very much. Your questions were really strategic to the cause, because you want us to assure you and the nation as a whole whether we do appreciate the fact that we have challenges, or call it divisions, or call it factionalism within the federation. And it's a question that we have responded to in a number of times and in a number of ways. The very fact that we're saying to you now, we have an internally facilitated process that has to deal with issues of the organization, politics of Cosatu, the ideological stand, administrative issues, in itself does indicate that we have difficulties, we have elements of divisions or issues internally. It's no more a matter that we are sugarcoating. It's exactly what we are dealing with as an organization. We're confronting exactly that situation, united in it. Because even when you hear people shouting or making noises outside, very angrily so, and shouting at each other, these people are still capable of coming here and have robust engagements and reach decisions to manage their own issues. I can say that without a doubt. And we took even a conscious decision that say we will accept any progressive intervention that seeks to unite Cosatu, which is why before even the ANC speaks to us, because I only heard Jackson speaking over the television that the ANC has taken as task a particular delegation led by the Deputy President to come and talk to us. There is no communication yet to us directly, but we're saying, come, as long as you are coming with solution and you are not coming to divide us. And we believe the ANC comes in to ensure that it helps strengthen Cosatu. I can at this moment give a short lesson to all of us and all of you here of something that I always do in my life. When people throw stones at me, when everybody throws stones at me, I collect all those stones. I rush and take them, pull them together, not to take each of them and throw back. I build a huge wall that will, going forward, keep me safe and secured so that those stones don't kill me. I do that. That's why you will find me not stressed an inch all the time. So we've welcomed that. Lastly, Matum, you see, it surprises me that you have the letters that I'm supposed to be reading. Those are my letters.
Yeah.
And now you're reading my letters to me.
Yeah.
And you are a journalist. I have not yet seen those letters, some of them, because the secretariat is yet to make an appointment with me and say, President, can we meet and hand you over the letters so that you will read those letters and take forward the constitutional processes of the organization. But for all I hear, those letters are saying different things, different reasons for calling a special Congress. At some point, we have to determine which issue will be an item for that particular Congress, so that there is consensus on what will be the agenda of that Congress. So it is safe to say that I'm yet to apply my mind on the letters. I know that they say it's about 9 affiliates that have written such letters. You're asking, do they stipulate why? They may be stipulating why, but they talk about different reasons. You can imagine my difficulty at the particular time, and the CEC is difficult because it must process each reason for the particular special Congress. Can really address meetings. He cannot address Cosatu meetings and Cosatu unions. He can address any other meeting. He cannot talk on Cosatu matters. He can talk about any other matter. He is a free man in the country. he cannot talk about the Cosatu matters at the moment. He is still on the special leave.
I think there's only one question left from Yolis, but maybe also to strengthen the point on the issue raised by Matum on the reasons for a call, on what has been written, on what you have in front of you. Look, a Congress, a National Congress of Cosatu is a Congress not only of 1/3 of its affiliates. 1/3 may request, but when that Congress is to sit, not 1/3 will be in a Congress, but 2/3 must be in a Congress. So the agenda item must be agreed upon by Cosatu affiliates, meaning the CC must then agree on the agenda for that Congress. You may write what you wish, but it has to come to a CC to decide on what will be the items for that Congress, so that affiliates can go back, hold their own special congresses to take mandates, and then discuss issues. Because if some are saying we need to look into the resolution, you can't sleep and wake up and decide to change the resolution of the Federation. You have to give it a thought and take it and say, what went wrong, where are we, what do we need to change? Now, you can't then decide because some have written and then say that will be the agenda item. So it has to be the entire Federation that will have to look at its agenda for that special Congress. And when it is convened, everybody is aware and prepared for the discussions that are to unfold in that Congress. The last one of can the affordability hold? You know, it will be a decision of the CC in November. Remember, CC said, when you apply your mind, President, look into these areas, report back to the November CC. And if there are those issues, it will be that CC then that will say, perhaps it can still happen, but we need time. So we cannot preempt what will be a decision of that CC in November in relation, if there are any issues of affordability also, because they need to be looked at, but we cannot say they will be issues.
Yeah.
So whatever, affordability may mean something else for others, but a CC in November will have to look into the total issues that would have be looked at, and then when the report is given, a CC will have to discuss the entirety of those issues and then take a decision on that. Thanks.
I just want to make one point that the spirit of the CC was very encouraging.
Yeah.
At one point, you will not get a sense that there was a difference between unions. In fact, the differences were not differences between individual leaders. People were having a different opinion because they were respecting the mandate of the organization. So there was nothing personal.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you come to the CC, you feel how comrades are talking to one another, they are making jokes. You will wonder, where is these differences between the two? I'm saying this thing leading to the first question of the court arrangement. The CC, or even the comrades who are regarded to the applicants, because the applicants responded in these matters, they express here in the CC that the decision that make them to go to court is a very painful decision.
Yeah.
So the president, when he addressed the media after the court, was that court sometimes they don't resolve political differences, never mind the outcome. So the traditions of the federation is to resolve issues internally. And from where we are convinced that we will find a solution despite what the court is saying. The court is not going to say, oh, there shall be trust and there's a trust. There shall be this and it's going to come. It is going to be the individual leaders, members of the federation. What makes us to meet and talk is one issue only, we are trying to build the cohesion and the unity of the federation. So it's not about who wins in court. You can win today, you may lose tomorrow. It might be technical, procedural, but the issues will have to be resolved between and among comrades. Secondly, I want to, don't run. If Matuma, the letter you receive, it's talking about reviewing the 2012 resolution. If that is the content, it will be constitutionally impossible. A special Congress can't review decision of a national Congress. So if the letter you have says that, I think it can't be in the agenda. I hope it does not say. I don't believe NUMSA can write a letter saying that. I don't think the comrade will ever do that, because they understand. You might, if we didn't get the letter from NUMSA, the sources might be wrong. So we don't want to blame NUMSA here. It might be the sources giving a wrong letter that they wanted to review the resolutions of 2012.
Just before I call for the next round, can I welcome you to ask questions about all the other issues? Please, they are very interesting. Right, number one, number two, the white shirt.
And this man got a column.
You can see somebody closer.
Yeah, and number three. Number three.
Next time you must sit strategically.
SABC. So I'll check if the office bearers are aware of any affiliates that may not be in good standing, as things stand. And secondly, okay, you say the ANC hasn't as yet communicated the source on television, but Alec Erwin and Sydney Mufamadi, what are the problems that they specifically alluded to that they thought they would help you with?
Thank you very much. Level Counsel from the Star newspaper. Just one question. The General Secretary, Mr. Vavi, said while addressing NUSA's political school on Tuesday that it is not tenable, it is not workable for Cosatu leaders to play dual roles, in the Federation and in the ANC-NEC, that it compromises the interest of the workers and also lead to some of the conflict in the Federation. Your response, please.
Alderman Simpia from Power FM. Just Mr. Vavi it seems that Mr. Vavi has this continuous defiance. He keeps on breaking the suspension conditions and contravening them and so forth. Why isn't it that the CEC evokes its powers and dismiss Mr. Vavi? Because I understand that the Constitution says that the CEC has the power to dismiss the General Secretary. And then the other question is to the President, Mr. Dlamini, would you consider stepping down for the sake of unity within the Federation?
Thank you.
Okay. Can I answer some why the President is writing the personal question you are asking? Right. The Cosatu, while it may have the right to dismiss people at the spot, but Cosatu believe in due processes. This is what we demand of our members at the workplace, that whatever accusation people may have, an allegation, they must be given a due process to answer in terms of what they might be charged of. So the General Secretary will not be exception of that one. By the way, when you take a public position, the question you have to ask, when you are not that person that you know, when Zuma is Zuma and not the president of the country, is he, when he's on holiday somewhere in Nkandla and all those things, stops to be the president of the country? We must not forget that this federation expelled its former president on a matter that he said he was speaking as an ANC, as a Central Committee member of the party. Remember the black bags? Remember that story that he received 2 black bags full of money. He gave it to the General Secretary and he spoke about those issues. The Cosatu says, and the commission, that what it found was that when you ask people, who is this? What answer will they give you? The answer will be, this was the president of Cosatu. If you meet Zwelinzima Vavi wherever, in a mall, and you ask, who is this? What will ordinary people say? No, this is somebody from Vavi. Or people will be saying, this is Zwelinzima Vavi, the General Secretary of Cosatu. So there is a precedent in the federation who you are. When Stumo was getting married, people were saying the president of Cosatu was getting married. When he be Situmo and not the president? So we should understand those politics in terms of whether you might say it now, I can say, no, I want to speak on my own capacity here. So those issues are the issues that at all times govern our behavior in terms of those particular issues. If I did some fighting in the stadium for my Orlando Pirates team and people knows me, those who knows me, they will not say another Orlando Pirate fan ran amok. They will say the Deputy General Secretary of Cosatu did this kind of arrangement. So the separation that now you are this, the next time you are that, the next time and that, is far-fetched on principles. Your behavior in and out of the office has to guide you in terms of how you behave and who you are and who you represent. The General Secretary is on full pay. He has not been excused to perform other duties outside of being the General Secretary. He's relieved. But he's expected to behave in the code of conduct of all leaders. This does not apply only him. It applies him to the leaders of affiliate. The code of conduct applies to the leaders of all affiliates. One General Secretary of a union I will not mention here. The Cosatu took a decision towards the Polokwane conference on what he termed to be his own personal capacity. He went and addressed some branches proposing a particular slate. What did the CEC did? They charged him. So we should not move away to this thing. On the dual role, Cosatu for a very, very long time, I think in one of its founding debate was the two-head principles. From the old beginning, who are you before you come to a workplace? We took a resolution that we are people before you get employed. It debated this resolution. In fact, it is the resolution of the Federation that we should encourage our members to serve in the NEC, in the ANC-NEC. It is a resolution of this federation. And many people in the federation, you would be surprised one day when we release the names, who in this house says, I raise my hand to be considered in that list before we go to Pulukwa. The General Secretary has been consistent in terms of saying he does not want to take that position, but resolutions and policies of the Federation reign supreme, and nobody should be speaking against those particular resolutions. And of course, people those who have the right to motivate and make a motion, they have to wait for the next Congress if they want to change the resolution, because it bedevils those who were then nominated as if they were nominated first on the Cosatu ticket when they were nominated, because Cosatu is not a branch of the African National Congress. They were nominated by their own branch, and they seems to be Cosatu leadership. We will not tell the media who are the Cosatu unions not in good standing. We don't think as what purpose it serves for the unions who may. Our understanding is that the unions who are not good standing are not in good standing because they face internal challenges. To take them and put them bare and say your union is not a union in good standing, the harm that it does to an individual members, because members do pay, and in their payment there's money that's supposed to go to the Cosatu coffers, but the union, for the reason that it may have, will not be able to do so. And we don't want to cause some kind of rebellions between the union leadership and the members, because we understand when the union is not in good standing. And when we discuss credentials, in many times the union forward reasons as to why they are not in good standing, and they have to talk to the office bearers how they address those particular areas. In fact, the unions that are not in good standing, there are very few. They are not even a quarter. I mean, there might be 1/6 of the federation.
Yeah. Leaching from the response Peggy has given, I'll start with the second question of Babu Mvok. What challenges did Alec and Sydney and the team see which would have attracted them to want to come and assist Cosatu? They are concerned that Cosatu may be not doing what is expected of Cosatu in the way they are expected to. They are concerned about perceptions or real divisions, potential split of the federation, or a real split or perceived split of the federation, and would not want, as former leaders, to have a situation 10 years down the line, Cosatu has faced itself off the face of earth. Cosatu say we stood and did nothing. So that's why they've offered their help. That is why the CEC has accepted their help. The issue of dual responsibility or being in the NEC of the ANC, I will help you with something. Perhaps it will help to finish this debate. Because you are saying the General Secretary was addressing the NUMSA gathering. Indeed, we saw that, but it was not the first time that there's been an open criticism of Cosatu's resolution on the one swelling of the ranks, but also on Cosatu active trade unionists serving in the ANC of the ANC. Just to remind you a bit, last year, I think somewhere in June, NUMSA would have had a political school, and they invited the president of the ANC, who spoke at length encouraging NUMSA members to consider ensuring that worker leaders should serve in the National Executive Committee of the ANC. You would have been in the NUMSA's Congress in Durban, where NUMSA resolved on Cosatu leaders and ANC NEC, noting that there was a Cosatu position on that matter. That's NUMSA in its resolution. They note that Cosatu has a resolution on Cosatu leaders serving in the NEC of the ANC. That Comrade Zuma had said the working class must have an interest in electing working class leadership onto the NEC of the ANC, believing that the presence of worker leaders in the ANC NEC could assist in advancing the workers' agenda. Swelling the ranks of the ANC without taking part in the leadership of the ANC would defeat the purpose of the exercise and make it difficult to influence the direction of the agenda of the organization in favor of the working class and the poor. Resolved that, that's NUMSA. 1. Cosatu worker leaders must sit in the NEC of the ANC as ANC members coming from the ANC ranks in a manner that does not compromise the independence of organizations from which these worker leaders come from. 2. A political accounting structure for deployees must be set up to make sure that the deployed cadres come back and account on what work they've been doing, and such structures must report to Cosatu's Central Executive Committee. This is the resolution of NUMSA I've just read yourselves here. It's a NUMSA resolution. Does not require any further clarity nor interpretation. It says NUMSA supports the Cosatu CEC or Cosatu Congress position to have worker leaders serving in the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Peggy has said there is a Cosatu resolution that says the same. So, all we want to communicate to yourself, because, you know, lately people are called right-wingers, thugs, tsotsis, because they serve in the NEC of the ANC. That is the resolution of Cosatu, and that is the resolution of NUMSA itself. It binds all of us. I didn't want to serve in the ANC NEC. I did not. I had to listen. I had to. And so have the other comrades who are there. We forced them. Others were saying, no, comrades, I'm actually on the verge of pulling out of trade union politics to go and do farming elsewhere. we say no, but for now you are a leader here. We're sending you there. Go and serve. You have no choice. So ayiphele lena ke manje ma comrade. Ayiphele. I dealt with that one. You can deal with it.
Why is the CC not sent? There's a
Yes.
direct question to you.
But what Stumo feels or have as a personal consideration of view in an organization, it does not count. So you're asking, can I step down in the interest of unity of the federation? The answer is, even if I feel I would have to step down, it wouldn't count in an organization, because what the organization says is what I should listen to. For now, the organization has elected me to be president of this federation. I'm trying my best in my bit of time to serve as elected. I may not make everybody happy. I may sound to others like a person that fears to speak truth to power. And I know that some of you are saying that so it doesn't matter how I feel. When the leadership says, Stumo, even before the end of your term, we think you have done your bit, you cannot give more, please step down. Fortunately, I'm a simple professional nurse employed at Umlazi Hospital. That's where my salary comes from every month. It doesn't come from Cosatu. It does not. Actually, that's the power of a worker, to rely on the salary that you work for in your workplace. So I wouldn't have a problem. I've not budgeted my life and have some plans what will be my future going forward. My future is what I am and what I have at the moment. At least I can feed my children. They are going to school. I can give them food every month with the salary I'm getting. It will not be lost when I'm not in Cosatu. It will continue with me.
Can I take this? There was a question, Kat, also on the why is CC not dismissing Solinzi Mavavi, given the transgressions? Look, 10.4 of the Constitution on the removal of officials. It reads 10.4.1. The CC may suspend or dismiss the General Secretary or any other official if, in the opinion of the CC, the official, one, has committed a misconduct, has neglected his or her duties, has acted in a manner detrimental to the Federation, or has acted in a manner which conflicts with this Constitution. The CC or National Congress may suspend or dismiss the General Secretary or any other official for any reasons deemed sufficient. So it goes on. But for you, you need to first verify through an investigation if really that person has committed a misconduct. It cannot be a word of an individual that somebody has misconducted and therefore a dismissal. Hence, the Special Central Executive Committee on the 14th of August has set up a process that an investigation has to happen. And if in that investigation, any of the policies and conduct of the Federation has been transgressed, and then disciplinary charges would then. So it is not an automatic thing that because you feel that there is a transgression that has happened, so you call for a dismissal. But a thorough investigation on the allegations has to take place. I think we should appreciate that. Otherwise, currently as we speak, Cosatu is defending itself in court So we have to be very careful on how we deal with issues of discipline, that we follow procedures, investigate if in the investigation there are really challenges, that there is transgression, then what follows will be the charges. And if in those charges really any of what is in this constitution is deemed necessary, then a CC may take a decision, but informed, yes, about what it would have received in terms of the investigation and what would have happened in the charges itself. So I wanted to say it's not convening a CEC, then a dismissal would take place, because we are very cautious also of what may follow us if you are to do that. That's a very shortcut of dealing with issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to talk about this dualship. All of us, as we are sitting here, and most of us in this room, are dual. We are a Cosatu member, we are a member of the union, we are a member of a church, if we go to church, we are a member of the ANC, and we are a member of the SACP, and we are in a tripartite alliance. So why not that question comes up? Because why? And we are, even me as I'm sitting here, I'm a treasurer of the Southern African and Clothing Textile Workers Union. I'm a treasurer of Cosatu. That's also dualship. All of us, most of us, as we are sitting here, especially the leaders of Cosatu, wears more than one hat. Sometimes we just have to take the one hat off and put the other hat on. So all of us have dualship as we are sitting here, Comrade President. Thank you.
I think this will have to be the last round. It's getting late. I will give preference to people who are... No, there aren't very many. There's one right at the back with a check shirt. And then very quickly, right back where we started, Ranjini, Dolly and Karima, and that'll be it.
Hi, Council Moderator, the CEC made a strong appeal However, as you know, NUMSA has taken Cosatu to court. Are you expecting them to withdraw? And if not, what would be the consequences for those who are taking you to court? Detailed leaders who use insult language against Cosatu leaders. My other question is about the fact that the CEC has imposed a political levy on affiliates. How much are you expecting to raise for
Firstly, just want to find out the disciplinary process against Mr. Vavi and the other employee. When is that likely to start? Are you going to wait for the outcome of the court process before you put the charges to them, or will it run concurrently? Secondly, NUMSA is preparing for a special congress in December. Have they explained to the CEC the purpose of the special congress, and what is the feeling of the CEC about that?
Totally from ENC again. Patrick, you have to forgive me. I must labor on this issue because I want to get it right. Now that the President has received 9 letters from 9 affiliates, what is currently going on? Am I correct in assuming that the President is now dealing with the practicalities, costs, timing, and the state of the affiliates in preparation for a special elective Congress? And lastly, on the appeal to members, can you confirm whether or not Cosatu has invoked a rule affiliated unions and their leaders from speaking about the current state of the Federation Republic? Is there a gagging order out there?
Okay. And finally, Karima.
I wanted to ask, when President Cosatu spoke about the decision by Cosatu, the resolution to send its leaders to the ANC, my understanding is that the Cosatu Political Commission before Mangamo had decided on a list of people which included Mr. Baldwin, and subsequently he made it public in the newspaper that he's not availing himself for the NEC. Does the CEC see the fact that he decided to not adhere to the decision of the political commission, which is binding on all Cosatu members, as a transgression? And if so, is that part of the charges in the first flow, unrelated to the issue of whether Mr. Mali had sex with a subordinate in Cosatu House? The first flow that involves a series of allegations for which submissions had been made, that wasn't just about financial irregularities, but also this political rupture between of what some unions had said between the General Secretary and Cosatu leadership. Thank you.
We'll take some feedback.
Yeah, that's the last question.
Thank you. I'll take Ranjeni and Paul. When is the DC taking place? That's the question. Look, we are not the ones that are sitting on that matter. Remember, the special CC agreed that there will be independent chairpersons that would look into that disciplinary committee or disciplinary hearing if there would be a disciplinary hearing. Remember, there is investigation first, and when that investigation is concluded, and out of that investigation, there are issues that must be brought in front of the disciplinary hearing, and then an independent chairperson will then be, this issue will be outsourced. So we have not arrived there. It's investigations that are taking place now, and once those investigations are concluded, out of what would have emerged, then independent persons will be the ones that will be dealing with that issue. So yes, the court case is a different matter altogether. It does not stop this process from ensuing, because these are two different processes that the Federation, the one of a court case, the Federation did not take itself to court. We are respondent to court, but we have a process that the special CC has agreed on. So that process runs its course. The one in court runs its course, but we cannot say when would the disciplinary hearing be, if there would be a disciplinary hearing. So it's subject to what an investigation would have come up with on that one. On the NUMSA Special National Congress, look, the CC, NUMSA has not reported or did not report to the CC about its Special National Congress. It's what we all read in the newspapers. It's what we read and it's what we saw when leaders of NUMSA were expressing this issue in their presser. So, but the CC of the Federation has not received a report from NUMSA, nor dealt with that matter. So, on the issue of that Toli you are raising, is there a rule? Yes, there's a rule. You see, there's a rule that the CC said no affiliate of Cosatu will speak on matters of the Federation. You see, we're holding a press conference of Cosatu. They are national office bearers elected in the Congress of the Federation to talk on matters of the Federation. Hence, those that are sitting here are those leaders that were elected in the National Congress. There are no affiliate leaders, here. A CC took place, and a CC is not affiliates meeting. It is the highest body of the federation. It's a central executive committee, a highest decision-making body between congresses of this federation. Now, when that body meets and the decisions are taken, those that will communicate those decisions on behalf of the federation is this leadership sitting here in this press conference. Now, CC consistently has been saying there will be no affiliate, whether on record or off the record, will communicate decisions of this federation outside this collective. So yes, there's a rule. But also I want to take ourselves to also a part of the autonomy of affiliates. I think this will also help us. In the Constitution, 2.3 reads on autonomy of affiliates. Affiliates, including affiliates that are being orientated about the federation, remain autonomous bodies governed by their own constitution, but they must abide by this constitution and policies of the federation. This is what this constitution says. So it's very clear where we stand on these matters. There is no confusion, and there can never be a confusion. So those that speak on behalf of the federation that are not elected in a congress of the federation are in contravention of this code, this constitution of the federation. So yes, it is clear there's a role. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you let us go now. Charles. The second deputy president has clarified on this question whether, having said that we discourage, because there's a term we're using, we discourage comrades or affiliates to want to pursue courts finding solutions for internal challenges we're dealing with. We are discouraging that. We cannot prevent them from doing so. They have the right to do so. But it's what we always say, let's avoid it. Let's not go to courts. We can still talk to one another. We are comrades. Let us resolve our issues internally. Let us trust one another. Peggy says that trust cannot be declared by a court. Trust is what has to emerge from leaders when they get to meet here. We would still want to take matters off the courts and focus with the internal processes, but we will respond to courts because we are being taken to courts in the manner that we must defend the decisions of the federation. But what is critical is our ability to talk to one another and resolve whatever differences there are. We cannot tell you how much at the end of the day we would have collected as the election levy from the affiliates. We set the parameters in terms of percentages, but it does not translate that it will be those amounts we have requested. So, but we would wish that people can be honorable and pay the election levy, which we have determined it will give us the full capacity to do work in campaigning for the ANC. And we appeal to our affiliates to be able to do so, because it is the duty, the task we have to carry through. The issue of the DA being jealous of our relationship with the African National Congress is another matter. We think it's a political gimmick of the DA. When they can go to court about it, again, we do not know what the court will say. But all we know is that we are within our rights to use our money to support the African National Congress to win by a decisive victory in 2014 provincial and national elections, it will win because we shall be there ensuring it wins. So, Peggy, you can, if we left anything.
Yeah, let me just take the easier one. Comrade Karim, when Cosatu developed its list for potential candidate to the ANC NEC, it was not doing it at a branch. At that time, when Cosatu was finalizing after its Congress, the list processes in the ANC was already closed, for starters. What Cosatu was doing was that first you have to be elected by the branch, gone through the processes, and then you have to be in the list in any way of the ANC. In that process, if you make to the list, then there are lobbying processes. Who do you try to lobby for? Basing on the strength of the list from the provinces. Because if you were number last in a particular list in the provinces, and when they try to negotiate in terms of all those issues, you're not going to make it in any way.
You drop.
So in that process is when comrades were saying, these are the names of the comrades. Mainly comrades, which I was talking about, clearly indicated that, look, I'm
being nominated.
I'm nominated, and then I will see how it goes. So Linzima Vavi has not been ambiguous about his position on those issues. Well before that, he does not want to serve in the ANC NEC for a very long time. I think one thing that has been consistent with is that one. His views was that I respect the position of of Cosatu of getting leaders in there, but I think it's going to confuse the roles that he might be playing as a spokesperson. But his views doesn't change the position of the federation. That alone can constitute to be charge that you refuse to be in the list. It can't be. There were many comrades who were nominated, who were in the list at that time, who withdrew when they were already in Mangaung, saying, look, I don't think I'm going to make it. Some of them have turned to be now against the position of the federation, even against their own position. So those are the dynamics that all the time we have to deal with. On the issues, I want to go back to the issues, Goli, of you use a strong word. People barred from talking, they banned from talking, or gagging from talking to these issues. The role of the unions in dealing with the matters in the federation, there are policies that the president talk about that guide them. Unions have different positions before they come to the CC. They debate those positions, but once a decision has been taken, their role changes, is to implement the decisions of the federation, all unions. But also the question of speaking to the media. One of the issues that divides the federation is to speak to the media on issues that we are not mandated to. So the Cosatu developed a code of conduct, long time, I think by 2007 and 6. This is a code of conduct applicable to the leadership at all levels. And unions know those things. Some, when they are angry, they say, look, we're doing this thing, but if you charge us, we're going to plead guilty and ask to be pardoned. They say, when we're angry and we're going to say these things, if you charge, we're going to plead guilty. Sometimes they know as leaders But sometimes the mandate from their structures force them to communicate the decision of their structures fully aware of the code. On the issues that I think I can just confirm with the President is that if we're using the legal term, is that we are praying that the unions that take us to court will review their decision. Some of us have never been in court before. We don't know how to address even the presiding officer. Sometimes your worship, your lordship, and all those issues. And we are pleading to our unions, and we'll continue plead that let's talk. This is not the route. That sometimes we become spectators. We take the matter to court, but you don't even speak. The legal team are speaking, and they're working. They're making money. They shake hands as soon as they go out here, and we don't speak to one another and going home. So we'll pray that over time we are going to pass these hurdles and be able to solve our problem. On the DA, let me just put it quite clear. I think the DA is wrong, and I don't think the court will agree with them. The law is clear and simple. It says you can't take your subscriptions and pay for political levy. Now, when Cosatu get money from the affiliates, we're not taking from the subscription that the union is getting. We're not taking from the subscription. That's why we got a political levy. That's why we got an election levy, not the subscription. And when we discuss on these particular issues, there are unions that have been not paying for these things, because to do that, you must get your concerns of your members. The question now that it comes to the union is a decision of the members. It's not coming from subscription. It's the union deciding. We've got many money that the union have. Our unions nowadays are rich. They've got investment company and all those issues. But we're not going to engage the DA in the media. If they serve us with paper, give them guarantee. We will meet in this court willingly, at least in this one. We will meet with them willingly to oppose their decision. I think they are too desperate that they are looking for anybody. They've marched here. I think they will have to march again. But we are not going to budge to support an organization which we are an ally to and which we have paid dearly for these things. The DA forgets sometimes that during the 1980s, it was only Cosatu who was speaking about the liberation here. When the leaders were in exile, the organization were banned, it was only us. So now that they enjoy this, then they got a guard to say, look, we should not support the African National Congress. We'll never agree on this one. I think they must rest assured that this one is no-go area. They must look for fight elsewhere. But in terms of supporting for the African National Congress, this is our resolution, and we're determined to fight to the last.
Okay, thank you very much for the platform and the media, and I hope some of you at least will cover some of the workers' issues in this statement, and not concentrate solely on the issues which should be discussing. So, have a safe journey home.